Tomas?
Good morning, Chris and Sabrina. How's it going?
It's definitely going. So we just want to get right to it. We know you have a report. So again, Tomas Manglona, what's your assessment and maybe a little about what's going on in the CNMI this morning?
Sure. Here's the latest on containing COVID-19 in the Northern Mariana Islands. As you heard, there are 2 confirmed cases of COVID-19 on Saipan as of Saturday. The news came on Saturday, announced by CNMI Governor Ralph Torres' COVID-19 task force. According to Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation Medical Director Dr. John Tudela, the cases involve a 42-year-old male and 49-year-old female. One traveled to Saipan from Guam on March 12, and the other traveled to Tinian on March 13. Both sought help at CHC on March 25th and March 26th after exhibiting symptoms. Samples were sent to Guam's Public Health Laboratory on March 27. They both are quarantined at Canoa Resort, and officials say contact tracing has begun. The CNMI governor ordered everyone arriving to the Commonwealth to quarantine for 14 days at a local hotel through an executive order on March 23rd. The governor also announcing grocery stores may open between 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. while implementing strict social distancing. Also breaking over the weekend today, March 30th, is the last day for grab-and-go meal distribution for the CNMI public school system's nearly 10,000 students on Saipan and Tinian. Rhoda's program will continue to operate until further notice. PSS made the announcement on Facebook, adding that, quote, "We are doing our part for the community, and now it's time for the community to respect our desire to protect ourselves and our families," end quote. Also new this weekend, Homeland Security and FEMA issues their 11th situation report. They note that procuring medical supplies is difficult as vendors are currently out of stock. The report explains that shipment of PPEs and other supplies might take 2 to 3 weeks. They say it's a significant issue as first responders and medical professionals are requesting for more PPE and equipment. CNMI Press Secretary to the Governor, Kevin Bautista, says there are several vendors already interested to work with the government. Chris and Bree, this is the latest on containing COVID-19 here in the Northern Mariana Islands.
You just said there's a comment on our Facebook stream. Someone was saying that it's actually 3. Or have you heard anything about that?
Bree, I also saw that comment, and I have not received any email or seen any public notice on social media from the governor or the COVID-19 task force. So I'm not sure if that's verified or not.
Okay. Right, and so we're going to go ahead and I know you're going to work hard to verify that. Can we just really, the thing that caught my ear and my eye since yesterday was this suspension of the grab-and-go meals.
Yeah.
Tomas, what kind of impact is this going to have on an island that, in Saipan, Tinian, that they're already struggling?
Yeah, Chris, and I just wanted to, in terms of the impact, I wanted to share that in one of their meal distributions, they passed about 8,000 meals out. And in that same release yesterday on social media, they said that they expect to pass 10,000 meals out today. And also yesterday I was speaking with a nonprofit organization, Empty Vessel Ministry on Saipan, and over the course of 2 days they served over 300 people waiting in line for food, and the current wait list is about 100 people who they have to turn away who showed up on both of those days. And so you already see people seeking help in terms of sustenance, and the news from the public school system will possibly add on to the pressure for these nonprofits to serve people. And the Empty Vessel Ministry Foundation served over 300 people, and that was before we had the cases announced. So I think that's definitely something to take into account and something to be looking out for in the community, especially as we encourage social distancing. If we have folks lining up back to back for this, that's also a concern, I think.
Well, I mean, we've been able to do it, from what I'm hearing, pretty successfully here on Guam, Tomas. So just to be clear, are the people in the CNMI getting grab-and-go meals today, or is the last day today?
So according to the CNMI Public School System's press release, today, March 30th, is the last day for Saipan and Tinian. Again, this program will continue for Rhoda until further notice. I think it's worth noting that it's possibly also Tinian because of the travel history of that one passenger we mentioned. Mm-hmm. And as we know, at this moment, there's no travel history to Rhoda with any confirmed cases. Mm-hmm. I think it's also worth mentioning, again, the number of ventilators we have on each island. Saipan currently has 16 ventilators available. Tinian has no ventilators listed. And Rhoda has one ventilator listed based on that situational report we received yesterday.
Wow.
Tomas,
And also CHC, I think, you guys echoed it. I want to echo it as well. We have our frontline heroes, first responders, hospital workers here who definitely are our heroes. They implemented teleconsultations over the week as well, and so now you can call in to see to talk with a doctor, and also to officially track symptoms experienced by individuals in the community that may be indicators of COVID-19. CHC has implemented the use of TIM, which is the text illness monitoring. And so basically what this is a mobile texting tool developed by the CDC. And so individuals who choose to enroll in this program will receive about 2 to 5 text messages a day for up to 14 days, checking them in on their symptoms. And CHC staff might choose to follow up with them if they choose to enroll in this optional program. And so this is just another way that the frontline heroes here and the task force are working to, possibly continue to track the virus if there are more confirmed cases.
Tomas, what was the feeling that there were always cases and that the test results, that they kind of just validate what people in the NMI were already thinking?
That's correct, and we even heard from government officials that all the action that they've taken up to now has been under the assumption or has been motivated by the fact that we should all assume it's already here. And Chris, yes, to what you said, this validates that is the case, and we hope that we get some news from the office in terms of where the developments are with contact tracing, especially if they've contacted those in the flight manifest to see where else they might have gone, and continue to respect the privacy of those two individuals as much as possible, as you know, which can be difficult during this time.
Yeah, I mean, there's already something I saw going around on WhatsApp. Don't know if it's verified, and really, it's no place for us to be outing COVID-19 patients.
Yeah, and I think it's also worth mentioning again that the specimens are taken to the CNMI and sent to Guam, and so that's still a major part of the response here is that collecting.
I wanted to ask, over the weekend, Governor Lou Leon Guerrero announced that President Trump had approved a request for a declaration of a major disaster area for Guam. Is that what's occurring or has occurred in the CNMI as well?
Bree, I'm going to be honest, I don't know the answer to that particular question, but I hope to hear more once the governor or one of his staff talks to you in a few minutes or so.
Right, but we know the Gov and NMI is tight with Trump, so it's probably a done deal.
Yeah.
Right. Tomas, with the testing, right? So what is the government, what are they saying about testing? Or is there a protocol, a group of people that are going to be testing first? Where are we with the testing? Because Lord knows you guys were behind. We're all behind the curve. But moving forward, what can NMI residents expect as far as getting tested and getting more results into the islands?
Again, as I was told by the press secretary, Guam is designated as a testing area for the U.S. Pacific Islands. Again, I don't know if that encompasses everyone. I know Hawaii is doing its own testing.
Right.
But I do know that they do follow the priorities that were set forth by the CDC in terms of the specimens being sent. And I know this was also something echoed by Dr. Cabrera on your show last week in terms of that process. And so, again, the specimens are collected and then sent to Guam as it's the designated facility. That was something that was emphasized to me yesterday.
Right. So I wonder how this is going to affect, because right now I understand we only have the capability to run 40 tests a day. And so now folding in tests that we're going to be getting from the NMI, how is that going to affect our efforts going forward if we're not going to be able to test? Because, the governor said that we are not, what was it? She said we're not discovering patients as fast as they're recovering. Mm-hmm. And so basically, that means that we're behind the curve and there's a lot of people we haven't tested.
Yeah,
and
Chris and Bree, if there's some sliver of hope in this entire situation, yesterday there was someone took some drone footage and drone photos of Saipan, and it was completely deserted during midday. And so we can see people here are taking this very seriously, and as we share it with our brothers and sisters in Guam that we hope we stay home and stay social distant and bend this curve and flatten this curve. And hope that when the governor announced this news over the weekend, Governor Torres said, "I hope this is the last time as your governor that I'm making this news," and I thought that was really telling.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be.
Yeah.
And that's what the stats show, right?
Right.
That's not the case. But
So you guys are staying home in Saipan. Maybe our friends and relatives of the NMI can start doing some stay home Guam videos. Be like, we're staying home.
He did one for us. I did want to follow up on the 2 confirmed cases. And just have you heard anything else other than their travel? There was one part in the press conference where Dr. Tudela said that testing or contact tracing they're reaching out to people, a part of a faith-based organization.
That's correct, and beyond that, I don't have any new confirmed information. I do know that is a large aspect that folks have noticed in that announcement, that they are reaching out to faith-based organizations, and for a few residents I spoke with, they also share that concern and have also shared that they are aware that it was a faith-based organization that folks may have gathered in. But again, nothing confirmed beyond what was announced by Dr. John Tudela.
Yeah, that kind of stood out for me. I was like, a faith-based organization? Which organization could that be? And, I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone wants to find out, and I think also at this time it's really important that we don't necessarily also exclude people from faith-based organizations because we have some sort of assumption. I think that folks are hyper anxious and aware, but definitely, again, I think there's a balance between privacy and safety. And I think today, later on, if we are going to have the press conference with the governor, definitely asking the villages. I know that was a big question in Guam in terms of which villages were they living in, or where they might be self-isolating.
A question
they're at Canoa Resort now, but before that, where might they have been residing?
Yeah, they're still not answering.
No
that,
answers on that. In fact, we just had Molesto Mayor Ernest Chargaloff on Friday, reiterating that ask that the mayors know what villages these COVID-19 positive patients are in.
They also, they said, you were talking about the faith-based organization and how, hopefully you'll be able to get some more answers. They did here on Guam, though, announce that anybody that had any contact or any visited the Hafaday Bingo in Tamuning to contact public health. So hopefully they'll be as transparent over there.
Hopefully we're setting an example for you guys, not in terms of like, oh, look at us, we're Guam, do what we do, but just the precedent that's been set, Tomas.
Yeah, that's right. And, just to share a little bit of what happens inside quarantine at the Canoa Resort for travelers, one of my good friends is actually in quarantine at Canoa Resort, and he tells me that they're allowed, they're fed 3 meals a day, and they're allowed for recreation time. And what that kind of means is, I think, just kind of walking around in the backyard for about 30 minutes a day. And so that's kind of a glimpse of what's happening at Canoa Resort. I know you're having your quarantine, journal entries there in Guam. So just wanted to share that a little bit as well.
I did want to ask you, because that Canoa Resort is where Dr. Tudela said that the 2 confirmed patients are being quarantined. And now you're saying that passengers are being quarantined there as well, right?
Well, passengers that was designated as a facility before the cases were announced.
So now is the facility an isolation facility? Because, unless they have like a separate, space for people who are quarantined and people who are on isolation, because ideally you wouldn't think that they would be together.
And I know that the jargon between isolation and quarantine is a little confusing for some folks, and including myself sometimes.
I think isolation
is when you're positive.
Right, and that they're also using it for that isolation. So I think it's serving dual purposes. Canoa Resort is a big resort, so hopefully I'm sure I saw measures of people of the first responders in hazmat suits during transportation and during that entire situation of bringing folks in. Even those who just traveled in, they're exercising the best of their abilities based on what I've seen in terms of wearing all the protective equipment throughout that process, from pickup to drop off and all of that.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Tomas. I guess we'll be checking. Did you want to ask something else?
No, I mean, just so if you can kind of lay out what your plan is for today. What is the governor going to do? Is there going to be an opportunity where he's speaking to the people Yeah, that would be my last question.
Yeah, so we're definitely hoping to have a virtual Zoom press conference. Chris, you might be familiar.
Yeah, a little too familiar with it.
Yeah, and so we're hoping for that later this afternoon, really to help answer some basic questions. You know, the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation and the CNMI press secretary and his information specialist have been getting back to our questions as soon as possible.
Wow, did you say information specialist?
Really, the media is looking forward to a chance to speak to the governor directly, possibly later today, and hopefully on your show, you both will be able to ask questions as well.
Right, yeah. So how has the flow of information been, Tomas? I mean, I know that you guys just got the positives, but are you having problems getting that info? Is it slow in coming?
You know, the press releases, you'll all get them. They come out, you know, probably a handful a day. I think, though, that definitely we have some specific questions that they're working on the answers for, and I know everyone's putting in long hours for that. So I would, you know, so far it's been good communication, and we hope to have those possible daily briefings, if not just for the media, for the public to hear every day. You know, I think I mentioned this on the show yesterday, that it's important to have an update, even if it's no update.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right,
So,
yeah.
if not just for the media, you know, for everyone else to listen in, we're all at home, we're all listening. So this is the time.
Thank you, Tomas.
Thanks, Tomas. Be
We'll
safe.
hear from you later.
Thank you.
Okay, there you go. Tomas Manglona covering things for us in the NMI, where over the weekend it was announced that they now have 2 positive COVID-19 patients.
One with travel history to Guam. This was what, March 13th, March 14th, 15th, first week of March or into the second week. But yeah, that one had travel history to Guam, and another, I believe, was returning from Tinian. So I was messaging the spokesperson or information specialist, Kevin Bautista, who works for the CNMI governor, and they were mentioning that they're probably looking at having daily briefings around 3 o'clock in the afternoon following Governor Lulian Guerrero's, because they don't want to have it at the same time. So they were looking at 2, and I was telling them, well, you know, the governor's is at 1. And so we're looking at, hopefully they'll be having theirs at 3 o'clock, and Tomas Manglona, he'll be sitting in or zooming in, however, whatever you call it, to those press conferences, and we'll be asking some questions on for us.
Okay, it's 7 a.m. We're KUAM FM, Agotni, Guam. Bree, we're going to do news real quick, and we're coming back 7 o'clock hour. Our scheduled guests, John Fernandez from the Department of Education, Dave Della Sola from the Department of Labor, and CNMI Governor Ralph Torres. That's coming up here on Containing COVID with KUAM News. We're KUAM FM, Agotni, Guam. Good morning.